Welcome to Archetypes of the East. Today we're looking at Hexagram 30, the clinging fire, brightness. The clinging fire represents brilliance, clarity, and the essential need for support, just as fire exists by clinging to fuel. The core theme is that awareness and insight depend on connection. Only when fire adheres to its source does it illuminate darkness and reveal the unknown. The principle of this hexagram is the dependence of light. Hexagram 30 is double fire. In the I Ching, fire represents the eye and the intellect. It's the power to see the truth of a situation. However, because fire is hollow on the inside, the middle line is broken yin. It's fundamentally dependent. The clinging here in the name refers to what the flame attaches itself to in order to stay alive. The advice here is to carefully choose your fuel. Awareness and insight depend on connection. You're currently in a period of high brilliance and clarity, but you must ask yourself, what am I burning? If you are fueled by ego or anger, you'll eventually burn out. If you're fueled by lasting principles or a sacred source, your light will be steady and helpful to others. Only when fire adheres to a proper source does it actually illuminate. If you try to go it alone or break away from your fuel, which could be your team, your values, or your family, you will flicker out and die. And Hexagram 30, independence is extinction. True success comes from finding the right support and clinging to it with devotion. The hexagram makes mention of the cow or the heifer. The traditional metaphor of this hexagram represents docility and nurturing. To keep your fire bright, you must be gentle and receptive like the cow or the heifer. This means adhering to the mission of the organization rather than just your personal ambition. It could mean clinging to mutual respect as a fuel for your own passions. The key of this hexagram is bright, warm, consuming, and luminous. It feels like high noon or a hearth of fire. It's warm and revealing, but it carries a dryness that becomes dangerous if it's not managed properly. Success is found by staying close to your proper source. This is not a time to wander into the abyss. It's a time to stand in the light of your present truth. The image of Hexagram 30 states, fire over fire, that which is bright rises twice. The image of fire. The greatest individuals, by perpetuating their brightness, illuminate the four quarters of the world. This isn't just a single spark. It's a double flame. It means that your influence is at its peak. Use this clarity to solve the problems that were hidden in the darkness of Hexagram 29. Fire dies if it's not fed properly. The great man or the superior one doesn't just flare up and quit. He carefully feeds his spirit with study, meditation, and good company to ensure that light reaches the four quarters of the world. The judgment of Hexagram 30 states, the clinging fire, perseverance furthers and brings success. Care of one's modesty, embodied by the humble cow, brings good fortune. This judgment is talking about disciplined radiance. Fire is naturally volatile and upward thriving. Left to itself, it consumes its fuel too quickly and it dies. The cow here represents the earthbound energy needed to temper the flame. This is the strategy of the sustainable source. To keep your light, your career, your project, your spirit burning, you must tether it to something humble and steady. To differentiate between a wildfire and a hearth. Clinging to anger or hatred turns your light into a destructive wildfire. You have immense clarity and intuition right now. This is a peak intellectual time. However, you must stay low and gentle like the cow to keep that energy productive. If you become arrogant or high-strung, you will consume yourself and those around you. Identifying the proper fuel is important. What ideas or hopes are you clinging to? In Hexagram 30, you are what you attach to. If you attach to unstable sources, which could be trends, vanity, or toxic people, your light will flicker. The Oracle advises you to cling to what is noble and spiritual, to ensure that your success lasts a long time. This is not acting on a hunch, using your double brightness to cross-check facts and to find objective truth. This is the best time for strategy, teaching, and research. This is communicating your story. Your light isn't just for you. It's a beacon for others who are still navigating the abyss of Hexagram 29. This is the concept of thought leadership with integrity. It's the difference between a flash in the pan and a lighthouse. It's the expert who stays humble enough to keep learning. The I Ching says, your mind is sharp and your vision is clear, but don't let your head get lost in the clouds. Keep your feet in the soil. so that your fire has a place to stand. Success comes from being bright but grounded. A changing line 1. The first footsteps run crisscross in uncertainty. If one is sincere and truthful, there is no blame. This is about properly disciplined beginnings. Line 1 is the moment of sunrise at the start of a new project. The energy is high, but the clarity of the hexagram hasn't fully settled in yet. You are venturing out with a lot of movement, but very little heading. This is the chaos of the first initial spark. Plans and actions can blur, like crisscrossing footprints. In your excitement to use your new light, you're running in circles. The oracle warns that lacking clear direction, you must avoid forcing a way forward. You're currently changing direction so fast that you aren't leaving a trail, you're just trampling the ground. If one is sincere and truthful, there is no blame. The crisscrossing is natural at the start of a new journey. It only becomes misfortune if you pretend to know where you're going when you don't actually know where you're going. No blame is granted if you remain mindful and serious of your own confusion. Admitting you are lost is the first step to finding the right path forward. This is the line of the idea phase, where you're trying to do 5 startups at once. The oracle says choose a direction and stick to it. Pick the one project that is true to your values. This is the mixed signals line. Stop the crisscrossing behavior in your relationship and be sincere about your intentions. This is the analysis paralysis line mixed with shiny object syndrome. It's the athlete who tries 5 different training programs in a week. The I Ching says the morning energy is beautiful, but it's currently scattered. Stop running, take a breath, look at the sun, and decide which way is east. Once you choose a direction, don't deviate until the path is clear to you. A changing line 2. One is like a central, stable, and brilliant light. They embody the middle way of the noon hour's yellow light. This brings supreme good fortune. This is about centered brilliance. Line 2 is the lord of the hexagram. In the I Ching, yellow is the color of the center and of the earth. This is the noon hour where the sun casts no shadows. It represents a state of perfect balance. Your fire is no longer flickering like in line 1. It is a steady, stable light that illuminates everything without any kind of distortion. This is the power of the middle way. One's clarity and inner brilliance are authentic, harmonized, and rooted in truth. You're currently operating at your highest frequency. This is not the time for extremes or crusades. Supreme success comes from staying in the middle, being moderate, gentle, and wise. You have great influence right now, precisely because you're not trying to force your light onto anything or onto anyone. Authenticity is your fuel. In Hexagram 30, the clinging here is everything. Because you are clinging to the truth, yellow, your light is sustainable. The oracle warns you not to let this supreme good fortune go to your head. Stay centered. This is the peak of creativity. This is your zenith. If you have a major presentation, a launch, or a creative project, do it now. The noon hour is your window of maximum impact. This is the golden harmony, a time of profound mutual understanding where the truth of the bond between you and another person is visible to both parties. This is a flow state line. It's the athlete or artist who is so dialed in that the work seems to happen all by itself. It's the leader who commands the room just by standing in it. The I Ching says the sun is at its highest point. There are no shadows in your logic or in your heart. Walk the middle way, keep your values, and the world will see exactly who you are. A changing line 3. As the sun sets on another day, one either beats the drum manically and sings, or laments loudly at the receding light. Misfortune. This line is talking about composed transition. Line 3 sits at the top of the lower trigram of fire. The noon of line 2 has passed. The external light is naturally receding. This is a test of the inner flame. When the world stops applauding, or the project reaches its natural conclusion, your reaction reveals whether your clinging was truly sincere or just based on external ego. This is about avoiding extremes. One can choose pointless excess or dwell in detached sadness. Both are extreme errors in polarity. This is the midlife crisis of the hexagram. One person tries to stay young through pointless excess, beating the drum manically, while another collapses into anxiety and fear. The oracle warns that both reactions are misfortune because they deny the natural law of cycles. This is about having proper perspective. Keep darkness at bay by focusing on the coming dawn. To navigate this line, you must release the need for the sun to stay at its zenith all the time. If you accept that the old fades to make room for the new, you don't need to scream at the sky. True clarity means knowing that the light doesn't die, it just continuously moves. This is about gracious closure. This is the sunset of a contract or a role. Don't go out in a blaze of manic partying or loudly bewail the loss of your status. Leave with your inner light intact. This is the dull phase in a relationship or a connection. Don't try to force a high that isn't there, and don't mourn the honeymoon phase. Just be steady. This line perfectly encapsulates the concept of fear of missing out, or burnout despair. It's the athlete who refuses to retire or the person who treats every weekend like a frantic escape from their reality. The I Ching says, the day is over. You don't need to beat a drum to prove that you're alive, and you don't need to cry to prove that you're deep. Just sit quietly in the twilight. The light that you need is already within you. A changing line 4. One's energy is not well paced, and its arrival is sudden. It burns intensely, then it dies and is quickly discarded. This line is talking about properly sustained momentum. Line 4 is the transition into the upper trigram of fire. It's restless and positioned incorrectly. It has the heat of fire, but none of the stability of its center. This is the strategy of the long burn. If your energy arrives like a sudden burst, it's a sign that you are burning your core rather than your fuel. There is a brief, destructive burst that vanishes. In our modern world, this is the viral moment that has no substance behind it. The Oracle warns against aggressive displays of power or showing off. If you try to dominate a situation with sudden explosions of ego, you'll find that people discard you as soon as the light fades. The Oracle advises one to avoid actions without depth and to pace themselves. Fire is meant to be a hearth and not a lightning bolt. If you burn intensely without a source, like in line 3's lessons or line 2's values, you're effectively throwing yourself away. You're trading your future for a 5-minute flare. The action to take is the slow start. This is the get-rich-quick impulse or the aggressive takeover that leaves you with no allies. In relationships, this is the love bombing phase, an intense hot start that inevitably dies because it was never rooted in reality. This is about tempering your arrival and your energy. This line perfectly encapsulates burnout culture. It's the entrepreneur who spends their entire budget on a launch party and has no money left for the product. It's the clout chaser. The I Ching says, don't be a firework, be a lamp. A firework is beautiful for a second, and then it's just trash laying on the ground. A lamp stays in the room and provides value all night. Pace your light. A changing line 5. Allow the releasing of tears and torrents, and the sighing and lamenting of emotion in order to heal. This brings good fortune. This line is talking about luminous catharsis. Line 5 is the ruler of the hexagram. Usually this position is one of triumph, but here it's one of deep realizations. You have climbed high enough to see the whole landscape, including the mistakes of the past and the brevity of the sun, like in line 3. This is the strategy of the vulnerable leader. The luck here, or the good fortune, comes from the fact that you're finally sincere enough to weep. In a hexagram dominated by fire, dryness, intellect, and light, the tears of this line provide the necessary moisture. If you do not lament, your fire becomes brittle and harsh. This emotional release or catharsis is the cow or heifer energy, the modest receptivity force, manifesting as catharsis. It clears the smoke from your eyes so that you can see the whole truth of the path before you. This is the flame in the rain. If you keep your inner flame burning through the tears, it will shine brighter. The danger here is not the sadness itself, but the possibility of the fire going out. You're not drowning in grief. You're washing the mirror of your soul. The goal is to feel the disappointment fully so that it no longer has power over you. Allow yourself to feel the emotion that sweeps over you. Process it, and then let it become part of you so that it no longer hurts. This is the audit of true honesty. This is the moment you admit a major failure or a missed opportunity. Good fortune follows because your honesty earns the trust of others and clears the path for a better strategy. This is the heart-to-heart, where the sighing and lamenting finally break the tension in a relationship, leading to a much deeper and more radiant bond. This is the line of radical transparency. It's the CEO who apologizes with genuine emotion, or the artist who finds their greatest work in their deepest heartbreak. The I Ching says, your tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a fuel for your next level of brilliance. A fire that can burn through a storm is a fire that can never be extinguished. Let it out, then look again. A changing line 6. One commands their influence by their own authority to march forth on their great endeavor. Precise correction of wrongs or confrontation of adversaries is advantageous, just as punishment is profitable in order to find the source of the problem. There is no blame in this righteous action. This is about root cause correction. Line 6 is the radiance at its most potent. The double fire has revealed exactly where the rot is located. It is the strategy of discriminating force. You're no longer clinging to a fuel source like in line 2 or lamenting in line 5. You're now using the light as a laser to cut away what is broken so the rest of the organism can heal. This is about identifying deep-seated wrongs with laser-like accuracy. When the light of clarity is at its peak, you have the authority to act. This is not about revenge or emotional outbursts. It's a righteous action meant to restore the middle way. You must be surgical. If you strike blindly, you're just a wildfire. If you strike the source, you are a healer. This is about merciful discrimination. Forgive the mistakes and then remove the source of the mistakes. The I Ching is specific. Kill the leaders, but only take captive the followers. This means that you attack the cause and not the people. Don't punish the minor symptoms of those who are duped. If a project is failing, don't fire the staff. Fix the flawed strategy that led them astray. This is about making a decisive cut. This is the turnaround specialist identifying the one toxic policy or leader that is ruining the culture and removing them cleanly. This is identifying the one big lie or the one core habit that poisons everything else. Address the root problem, and the rest will dissipate on its own. This is the line of extreme ownership meets strategic auditing. It's the surgeon who cuts out the tumor to save the patient. It's the merciful harshness of setting a firm boundary that finally stops a cycle of abuse. The I Ching says, the light has shown you exactly what is wrong. Now that you see it, you have a duty to remove it. Be swift, be precise, and be kind to the symptoms while you kill the cause. There is no blame in this. That completes Hexagram 30. I hope that you liked the video if you found it helpful in understanding this hexagram. Subscribe to follow along for more in this series, and next we'll encounter the first of the hexagrams that deal with love and relationships. Hexagram 31, Influence, Calling, Wooing. See you then.